In case of Stripe, what we used to get inside the post action method was a Stripe token. We will be getting the same inside the Braintree controller right here, but if we take a look and if we scroll up, we have an ID with a name payment method non-CE as hidden. So nonce is usually a randomly generated token. So we'll access that inside the controller here, and we'll do that inside the post action method. We will have HTTP post. Let me stop the application. And we will have a validate anti-forgery token. Then we will have a public iAction result will be the return type for index. And in here we will be getting all of the form collection. So we can use iForm collection here. We'll do control dot to include ASP.NET Core.HTTP, and let's call this collection. Whatever value will be posted, it will be inside the collection here. I will also add a random number. R&D is equal to new random. This is the amount of transaction that we want to charge. Since we do not have a model, we'll make a random transaction. Let's get the string nonce from the client is equal to, from our collection we will retrieve that based on the name. So we'll copy this and we'll paste it right here. Once we get the nonce, we can do variable request is equal to new transaction request. We will do a control dot to add the Braintree reference here, and we can set multiple properties here. One of the required one is amount, and we'll make it random starting from 1 to 100. Next required is payment method nonce, and here we have to pass the nonce from the client. Then we can also pass the order ID. We'll just make it a random number right now, but in a scenario you will have an order number from your order header. After that, we can also set more options in which we can set new transaction option request, and one of them is submit for settlement to be true. In case of payments, you need to settle the payment or it will be pending. So we'll directly send the payment for settlement. After that, once we have the request object, we will get a result once we do the transaction. So here also we'll get the gateway again is equal to _brain dot get gateway. Once we have the gateway, we will get the result inside result transaction. What we'll get here, we'll call it result is equal to gateway, and we'll make the call. So we'll be calling transaction dot sale. Whoops. And in here we will pass our request. So here it will make the call to Braintree and it will process the transaction, and result will have our end add, and result will contain the end result. Then here you can check if the result was successful or not and display message accordingly. So with the result we will check here if, and we will have result dot, we have target which will be populated once everything is done, and in there we have the processor response text. If this is equal to approved, this means the transaction went through. So in there we will add a temp data, and what we will display is transaction was successful with the ID of the transaction, which is inside result.target.id, comma the amount charged, which will be inside result.target.amount. Once this is done, in the else block you can check the other conditions and set a failure message, but I won't do that right now. Here we will redirect back to the action, and we'll redirect to the same action, which is index action. Once you do this, let's run our application, and let me set a debugger here so that we can see how process goes through. So in here, let's go to Braintree and let's make a transaction through our card. If you go to Braintree, test card numbers, And if we go to the testing here, once we scroll down, we have few card numbers. For Visa, it's 4 and all ones. So we'll use that here. It lets you add more than 16, so be careful about that. And we need a valid expiration. Let's hit the test transaction. Great, the control comes here. Let's do F10 to continue. And let's see what the nonce is. We have the token from Braintree. We'll continue here. We should have the result. Let's see what the result is. If there were any errors, you would have seen here, but only target is populated, so everything is good. The amount is $77, which is the random number that we selected. In here, you have the USD, and if you scroll down, the important field is the ID. That is what you need if you have to order a refund. You can see we also have order ID, and you have more details here. In the options here, you can set much more options than what we are, but that was not what we were focusing on. We wanted to successfully make a payment. If we hit F10 here, it goes inside the if condition, and let me do F5. It should load the page again, and we have our alerts. And in here we have two alerts. The reason is we have already added alerts in the underscore layout, because of which we do not need it here anymore. Once you save that, and if you reload and try another transaction, it should only display alert one time. Now before we proceed further, let me go to Braintree and see if the transaction is reflected there. So we'll go to the transactions. Actually, we'll be able to see in home as well. And you can see in the last 30 days, today we received a transaction of $77, and that is exactly what we processed. So perfect, you can see it is working as expected. Now the next thing is to configure PayPal within our Braintree.